The mic was hot. The audience was leaning in. And the speaker on stage, well, they were technically doing everything right. Slides were clean. Their credentials, very impressive. Their content, it was solid. But here's the truth bomb that I dropped later backstage. None of that makes you the go-to expert. And the look on their face was like, wait, what? Hey there, I'm Lord Al Jensen, founder of Next Stage Communications, and I've been helping speakers, entrepreneurs, executives, and experts rise above the noise since before most folks even had an email address. We're talking over 7,500 talks since 1974. I've coached TEDx speakers, I've guided pastors and politicians, and I've walked out of storytelling contests with more than just applause. I walked away with top honors. So when I say this is what positions you as the expert that people will remember, will refer, and will run towards, I'm not guessing. I'm reporting from the trenches. You see, most speakers and experts are taught to teach, to give value, to deliver information, to explain the thing. But here's the truth that most will never hear. People don't follow experts because they're smart. They follow experts because they trust them. They see themselves in them. And they believe the expert knows the way forward because they've been there before. And that's exactly what the Hero's Guide story does. It doesn't show off. It shows up. It says, I know the path. I've walked it, and I can help you do the same. In today's episode, you will discover why most credibility intros actually undermine your authority, the story that you need to tell after the connection story and before your close, and the structure of a Hero's Guide story that magnetizes the room and positions you as the trusted guide and naturally leads to yes. And by the end of our time together today, you'll know exactly how to craft and deliver this story in a way that elevates your status without sounding like a self-promotional machine. Plus, I'll invite you to go even deeper with my newest mini course, the Next Stage Hero's Guide Blueprint. You'll find the link in the show notes, and we'll talk more about that later. But for now, buckle up, because we're about to dig in to one of the most overlooked, the most misunderstood, and underutilized power moves in public speaking. Let's talk Hero's Guide story. Let me ask you something that nobody's really saying out loud. Have you ever felt like you know your stuff, your content is strong, your credentials are legit, and yet people still aren't treating you like the go-to expert? They say, wow, that was really interesting, but they don't follow. They don't refer. They sure as hell don't buy. Frustrating? Right. Well, here's the truth that'll set you free and ultimately put more yes on the board. Being right does not make you the guide. Being brilliant does not build belief. And being credentialed doesn't create conversations. Well, what then does? The Hero's Guide story. Because when people are looking for a coach, a consultant, a speaker, they're not looking for a guru. They're looking for a guide, someone who's not just shouting from the top of the mountain, but who can say, I know this trail, I've walked it, and I can walk you through it. So let's break it down. What exactly is a Hero's Guide story? It's the story that shows not just who you are or what you've survived, but how you became the person who can now lead others. This is your positioning piece, your credibility builder. It's how you move from, well, that was interesting, to, holy crap, this is exactly who I've been looking for. Now, quick side note, a lot of speakers confuse this with the connection story, but this one's different. Connection stories are about relatability. Hero's Guide stories are about authority, the earned kind. They answer the questions, have you been where I am? Do you understand my struggle? Can you lead me out of this? If the answer is yes, You've got buy-in before you've even made the pitch. Now, let's be super clear on this. Your hero's guide story is not a list of wins. It is not a brag fest, and it's not your full resume with once upon a time attached to it. Nobody wants your LinkedIn bio in story form. They want your hard-earned transformation. They want the moment that you turned your mess into a method, the moment when you stopped pretending and started leading. Now, let me give you an example from my own life. For years, I was the guy who crushed the talk and walked off stage empty-handed. Standing ovations? Sure. Applause? Check. Conversions? Crickets. Why? Because I hadn't earned the right to lead. I hadn't positioned myself as the one who gets it and can guide them through it. Then I had a shift. I started telling the story of how I used to be the hardest working speaker that no one remembered, of how I chased stages, how I got the mic, nailed the delivery, and still left with nothing but compliments. Until the night I sat in my car after a keynote and said to myself, that was a good talk, but did it really matter to anyone? It hit me like a freight train. My stories weren't landing because they weren't leading. That night, I made a vow to start using stories that connect my past to their path. Not stories that impress, but stories that invite. That's when things changed. People started leaning in. They started seeing me as their guide, not because I said so, but because I showed them I had walked through what they are walking through right now. That's the hero's guide story in action. And here's the twist. It's not about your biggest win. It is about your most pivotal moment, the moment when things clicked, when you stepped into the version of yourself that others now need. Think about it. What's the moment that turned your work into a mission? The moment you knew, I've got to help people with this. It might have been a failure. It might have been a flash of insight. Maybe it was a turning point with a client or a personal decision that you made that just changed everything. Whatever it is not random. It's your origin story as a guide. It's what gives you the authority to speak with conviction without being salesy or slick. And once you identify that moment, you can use it to shift perception in the room fast. Because suddenly you're not just another expert with an offer. You're the one person in the room who gets them. You're the one who says, I've seen it, I've lived it, and I know the way through. That, my friends, is magnetic. That's the story that sticks. That's how you become the guide they remember, the guide they refer to and run towards. So now that you've got the concept, the mission, and the mindset behind the hero's guide story, let's get into the how. And if you want a simple, fast tool that'll help you sketch out your own hero's guide story with total clarity, grab the Expert Bridge Framework cheat sheet. It's waiting for you right now inside the Next Stage Speaker Success Vault. It's free, it's powerful, and it's built to get you moving fast. So hit the link in the show notes and grab it right at the end of this episode. Because inspiration without application, that's just noise. We're not here to pump people up. We're here to position. So here's what you need: a clear, flexible, high conversion structure to shape your hero's guide story so it does the job every time, whether you're on stage, you're on a webinar, or even on a one-to-one sales call. I call it the Expert Bridge Framework. 4 parts. It's tight, it's purposeful, and it's repeatable. Let's break it down. Step number 1, the relatable beginning, also known as I've been there. This is your credibility connector. It's not your greatest hit, but your human moment. Open with a situation that your ideal audience absolutely has felt. I used to second guess every word of my talk. I was chasing all the right clients and still felt like a fraud. I looked like I had it together, but secretly I wondered if I was just a one-hit wonder. The goal here, make the audience nod their heads and think, yep, that's me. When they see themselves in your struggle, they trust your guidance a whole lot more. Step number 2 is the turning point, also known as that's when it shifted. This is your crucible moment. It's the flash of insight, the painful truth, the unexpected lesson. It's the thing that changed everything. Example, I realized I was marketing like a coach instead of showing up like a guide. Or a client looked me in the eye and said, "You don't sound like you believe what you're saying." Or I watched my dream client ghost me after a pitch, and I knew exactly why. This is the moment of ignition. This is the transformation and where it begins, just right here. But remember, do not be vague. Be specific. Let us see it. Let us feel it, smell it if you have to, because specificity is what makes a story sticky. Step number 3, the new belief, also known as, here's what I know now. Now you deliver the gold, the aha, the truth that your audience needs to hear. This is not your tagline. It's not your philosophy. It's the belief you carry because of your journey. Authority isn't claimed. It's earned through empathy. And people don't follow the loudest voice. They follow the most aligned voice. And expertise doesn't convince people to say yes. Belief does. This is the emotional driver of your offer. This is the line that echoes in your audience's mind long after you left the room. You're not just teaching a lesson. You're transferring ownership of belief from you to them. And then step number 4, the bridge to them, also known as, that's why I help people like you. So now you shift from me to you, from story to service, from journey to invitation. This is your call to action without sounding like a call to action. As an example, that's why I work with coaches who are ready to stop playing expert and start showing up as their guide that their audience is already searching for. Or that's why I help speakers craft talks that don't just inform, but transform. Or that's why I created the system I use now to help you avoid the years that I spent in the wrong role. You see, this is where belief becomes action, where your story becomes their decision point. If you've done it right, it's not salesy. It's sacred. It's not pushy. It's powerful. Now, let me pause and address the big but that I hear all the time. But Al, my journey is not dramatic. Al, I haven't survived a near-death experience and nobody's making a movie about me. Listen up. Your story doesn't need to be epic. It needs to be emotionally honest. People don't follow perfect. They follow proof that you walked the walk, proof that you get it, proof that you're not just in this for applause, you're here for impact. And that's what the Hero's Guide story delivers. And when you drop that story with intention, it becomes an anchor point, a pivot. The moment your audience starts seeing you not as a speaker, but as their guide, you can weave this story into a keynote. You can build it into a webinar. You can kick off a challenge with it. You can even drop it into a conversation where someone says, "Oh, what do you do?" It's really that versatile. But here's the magic. You only have to build it once, and you can use it again and again and again. And every time it lands, it makes your message stronger, stickier, and more believable. Coming up next, I'm going to walk you through how to actually build your Hero's Guide story from scratch using prompts, templates, and a few speaker-tested techniques to shape it with clarity and confidence. Then I'll tell you where to get the mini course that'll help you do it right the first time and every time after. All right, let's bring this thing in for a landing. If you've been with me through this episode, you know that being seen as the expert doesn't come from credentials alone. Not about being the loudest voice in the room, and sure as hell isn't about faking it till you make it. It's about stepping into the role that your audience already wants you to play, their guide. That means sharing the moment that made you real, not perfect, not polished, but real, believable, and credible. Because when you show people what you've walked through, they start to believe that you can walk them somewhere too. And when your hero's guide story is shaped with intention, not just inspiration, it becomes one of the most powerful tools in your storytelling arsenal. It builds trust, it drives respect, and positions you as the one they remember, that they refer, and run towards. So the big question is, have you built yours? Because if you haven't, or if you've just been winging it, then let's fix that right now while this clarity is still fresh and that fire is still lit. Here's where I'd like to introduce the Next Stage Hero's Guide Blueprint. Craft your go-to expert story that attracts, aligns, and converts. Inside this power-packed mini course, I'll walk you through step by step how to identify the moment that positioned you as the expert, how to build the trust bridge with the exact story structure that we covered today, and how to use this story on stage, in pitches, in webinars, sales conversations, everywhere. Plus, bonus AI prompts to help you write, refine, and rehearse your story with ease. Now, whether you're new to storytelling or already slinging talks on the regular, this course will help you create that signature story that makes the audience say, "This is the one that I trust to lead me." And it's just $37. Less than a dinner out. You walk away with a story that'll move your audience towards you, the one they trust to guide them. So hit the link in the show notes and grab your copy of the Next Stage Hero's Guide Blueprint right now. Because if you want people to follow your lead, to buy what you're selling, and believe in what you're saying, you need to stop sounding like the expert and start storytelling like one. If this episode has helped you, inspired you, or made you think, dang, I really needed this, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment or a review, and share this with the speakers, the coaches, and the thought leaders in your circle who deserve to be seen as the guide. Because your story matters, your voice matters, and the world needs what only you can bring. Let's make sure they never forget it. And I can't wait to see you on the next stage.